Hello, everyone, and thanks for having me. So as Christina said, I'm going to share 5 practical tips today with you on how you can actually grade your sales mindset. So we're really going to look into how you can overcome your natural sales fear. We're going to probably look at sales and selling in a little bit of a different way that you might be used to until now. And it's all about like really boosting your mindset when it comes to selling to help you sell better and more in the end without necessarily having to come across as salesy, whatever that might need. So what we're gonna hear today is really based on my very personal experience as a salesperson, as an entrepreneur. And what I'm gonna share to you with you today is really almost 10 years of experience in a corporate role. So I've been through those roles where I was cold calling people. I've been a business development representative. I've been a salesperson in my corporate career. And in the last 2.5 years, I've been my own entrepreneur. So I keep on selling and I help a lot of people to sell better as such. A couple of things that we're going to touch on today is really, I could say, tons of years of sales trainings I have been through. So I've worked for companies like Oracle that you might be familiar with. I spent 5 years in a company called Salesforce that you might know as well. And I've managed teams of business development people and salespeople. I've seen what worked for them. I've seen it with my own trial and errors. And I see it with a lot of the customers that I would work with, especially our business customers as such. So 2.5 years is also that we are full-time into the business with the best possible you. And what was really the idea of the best possible you back in the day is to build that experience in a sales environment, but also in a business environment, but not to help people only on the business side of things, but also on their personal growth journey. Because I truly believe that like change and success really starts with us, with our mind and how we perceive things. And this is what it's all about today when it specifically comes to sales. So the best possible you is now basically, grown into a platform that really provides you with the right tools, the right expertise and the insights. We give you also one-on-one personal guidance with the right experts. And we really actively encourage you and create those spaces like today in the Lunch and Learn session. If there's no COVID-19 restrictions in place, we also take your team or your company to very remote locations to digitally detox and really focus on what's really important for you. But that's just a little bit about myself and the best possible you. But today is not about me. Today is all about you and your sales mindset. So if we get started now and I ask you, when I put the word salesperson out there, what is it that actually jumps to your mind? Think about it. You hear sales, salesperson. What are the things, the images, the words that jump into your mind? And feel free to share some of them in the chat as well if you like. Think about it. What is your natural perception of sales that you have at the moment? So money makers, I love it. There's a pitch, people pitching. Yeah, it's all about pitching. It's all about the money. A lot of the people, what I would say is, even if I can share with you my very own perception. So my perception of sales was not always the same as it is now, I have to say. So 10, 15 years ago, when I was not even aware that I might go down the road of a sales career back in the days, this is what my perception of a typical salesperson was. So somebody knocking at my parents' door, trying to sell us the most expensive funky Hoover with like features that nobody would actually need for a very not affordable price. So this is the natural perception that I would have had back in the days. And Ilona, yes, you're saying Hoover selling door to door. This is exactly my image from back in the days. And when you think about it now, this perception that we actually have, as you say, the money makers, the pitchers, the Hoover selling door-to-door kind of people, what is it really that holds us back when it comes to selling ourselves or selling our products and services? Think about it. What is it that is holding us back? Think about it. What comes to your mind? It's often the fear as such. We are being afraid of rejection, exactly, the fear of rejection, or no, that people might not necessarily be interested in what we have to offer. And really this not being successful in a way, not being able to make that money, not being able to convince people to spend some money on whatever it is that we are actually selling, correct? So fear is actually a very common word that means the following. So fear stands for false evidence appearing real. Think about this for a second. So a false evidence appearing real. So this is how our mind works. So first of all, it's very natural. So our mind is really like, yeah, born and there to keep us safe. So everything that pushes ourselves out of our comfort zone, that where it's not really, yeah, sure on like where this is going, it wants to keep us safe. This is when fear comes in. And it's also the reality that is created in our head. So if you're gonna tell yourself, oh, I won't be able to close that deal today, people will not be interested in what I'm selling, this is when you create your very own reality and you're holding yourself back. And this is also the point where I want to give you the very first tip of today because of that fear. It's the first tip is a no is okay. Think about it for a second. So a no is okay. I see a lot of people in the corporate world or as entrepreneurs that are trying to sell their products and services to anybody potentially out there, and then are disappointed because maybe 90 or 95% of those people are not investing money into whatever you have to offer, okay? So a no is okay. And this is also really important, that a no is okay from the customer side, but also a no is okay from your side. Because when we go down the road of effective selling, we have to bear in mind, in the end, the goal of sales is to come to a mutual agreement. So the mutual here is really important, because the sales definition, like versus the door-to-door Hoover selling salesperson that I had in mind 10 or 15 years ago, after all those years and all like these experiences of selling, this is what I came up with as a definition. So for me nowadays, sales is all about finding an agreement with the right person or company who can genuinely benefit from your products, services, or skills if you're in the professional services space. So think about it. It's finding an agreement with the right person or company and those people that can genuinely benefit from your products, services, or skills. So what does that actually mean? So before we actually go out there and we are trying to just sell something randomly to anybody, we need to take a step back and think about who are the people out there who can actually genuinely benefit from my solutions, my products. So a lot of the times you might be familiar with the term like your ideal client, your client avatar. And it's not just thinking about like what is the age group as such, or is it male or female, not the typical demographics. Think about beyond this. What is actually their thoughts and their feelings? What is their problems? What are they currently struggling with? So we are now talking about like your typical customer pain. So what is it that they are suffering from that you can help them with? So this is really important when it comes to effectively selling and look at your ideal client base as such. Because if I would ask you in the audience now today about like what it is that you do, you probably could all tell me like, yes, this is what I do and this is what I sell. If we go into the how, you can probably tell me as well how you actually do this. But what a lot of people actually forget is why we are doing so. So we really need to ask ourselves, why is it that we actually exist and why is it that we do what we do? This leads us into our second tip for today. So it's really all about starting with the why. So some people might be familiar with Simon Sinek. He's a really good influencer in the space of leadership or business in general, I'd say. We don't have time to watch his little video, but like do check it out if you want. So Simon Sinek is all about the golden circle. So you see the golden circle in front of you on the screen here. And he says a lot of companies make the mistake that they sell what they do, sometimes how they do it, but hardly anyone really thinks about the why they do it. So he says two really important things about the why. So the why is, first of all, why do you get out of bed in the morning? So basically, why do you exist as an organization? Or why, if you're a salesperson in a big organization, why is it that you even chose to sell that kind of offering? So why do you actually believe in it? So that's the one thing. And then the second part of the why is, why should anybody care? So this is a really important one. We know that a lot of the startups out there actually fail. If I'd ask you now what the main reason is that those startups fail, what do you think might be the answer? It's 40%. Think about it, 40%. That's almost every second company out there fails because there is no market need. So a lot of the people, they come up with some solutions and some products as such. And in the end, there's nobody actually out there who can genuinely benefit from it. So this is why the benefits is really important when you move forward and progress your clients and your prospects, your future clients as such, through your sales funnel. And there's actually another really important point why the benefits is crucial. Because think about it now, you have a couple of people identified who could benefit from your solutions, they're interested, you caught their interest, they're like, okay, let's chat, let's have a talk. And then it comes another big roadblocker in sales that we are typically afraid of. Which one might it be? Have a little guess. It's all about the money. So at some point, you have to talk about pricing. And this is, I think, where a lot of the people who are selling something themselves, services or products, face the next wall of fear as such. And if I'd ask you now the term of too expensive, how familiar would it be? Have you heard it yourself? Somebody telling you, oh, it's actually too expensive? It does happen. It does happen a lot. It does happen all the time. So think about it. When something is too expensive for somebody, it means that the value that they get, or the perceived value of the price you're asking for, is not very evident. So this is the third tip from me today. So the price is the perceived value. So when we think about people objecting with it's too expensive, there could be two things happening here. First one could be that it's actually not the right persona that you're selling to. So that you have something to offer, but the person does not really see the need or feel the pain as such for it. So for that person, it doesn't really justify the money they would have to invest. And on the other side is, they might have the pain, they might be potentially be able to benefit from your solution as such, but they are not aware, or they're not perceiving it as the value that your price reflects, if that makes sense. So another equation that we could actually put down here instead of price is perceived value. Think about it as price is an investment in you and your solutions, in your company products, and that equals the return on investment. So people will always, whenever they evaluate your services and products, they will think, okay, so what is it that I get in return? So what is in it for me on the other side if I do actually make that investment? Okay. So why is that really important? So, I mean, the logical side of things, what we just said, investment, return on investment. So it needs to add up as such on a piece of paper, black and white for the numbers. But that's not the only thing why we need to do this, because you might be surprised, we are actually not making decisions based on our logic. So the value, the price, even if you list what it's worth as such, might not be enough, because we make decisions based on emotions. So that's the second really important part when it comes to selling, that instead of just talking in fact-based language, we really need to address our customers with their emotions. So what do I really mean with emotions? There's two reasons why people buy. So one is people want to move away from pain. So when people come and want to work with me, for instance, they want to move away from the pain of not making enough money. If they have investors on board, there's a certain pressure attached to it. So they want to move away from all those negative feelings. Okay. The other part is, on top of moving away from pain, people want to move towards pleasure. So you want to make more money, you want to be more successful, you want to have a status that comes with that kind of success, that pleasure, that freedom, whatever it actually is that drives you for making those sales as such. So this is really important that we can speak in emotions. And there's actually a very good study out there with, I think, 40 of the Fortune 500 companies. And the most successful salespeople out there are the ones who have an above average emotional intelligence. So if you feel like fact-based as such is something that really, you have everything in place, you know who your ideal persona is, you know all the benefits, the impact you can make with people, but you're still struggling, that might be something that you want to look into, the emotional intelligence that you can work on yourself. Okay, so how are we doing in terms of time? 11:18. Okay, really good. So that's the emotional part of things. So why is it so important that we have all of this in place and we do, let's call it our homework, that we know whom we actually want to sell to and how we are going to do this? Because in the end, it's all about moving people through a sales funnel that we see in front of us. So in the end, it's all about at every stage, every customer interaction, ideally, you move either to a yes or a potential yes throughout the funnel, or a potential no. The most dangerous part I see all the time with entrepreneurs or corporate salespeople is the maybes. So in sales, we also call it the chasing the ghosts. So those people, I don't want to necessarily call them time wasters, but those people who will most likely not either benefit from your product or actually make a buying decision. Those are the ones we tend to spend most of our time with. So we really need to be clear on who do we want in that funnel and who is most likely going to drop out anyway. How can we do so? This is, we're in a world of online businesses. So it's really starting with your messaging on your social media channels, on your websites. But then when you also have like actual face-to-face customer conversations, like discovery calls, if you are selling a solution or a service as such, it's asking the right questions. So asking the right questions is really helping us to drive us down this funnel as such. So I'm not sure what the awareness level is in the audience today around sales funnels. You might be familiar with sales funnels. It's maybe the first time you see something like a sales funnel in front of you. To give you a better understanding of this, let's take our group here as an example. So you might have come across an email that this event is up here today, and you thought like, oh, there's actually somebody out there who can help me with sales and my sales mindset. So this is when you were in the, but not even in the awareness stage, because this event created some awareness from you. Somebody else might have been, I need some help with my sales skills. I want to boost my revenue. I'm interested in this. And you might have even typed it into Eventbrite and you looked specifically for events about sales. Then you're already in the interest stage. If you have done your research, you've done maybe a couple of webinars, you've spoken to a couple of service providers, and you're like, yes, I'm going to have a look like on how Katrin is doing her webinars today and what she can offer me. You're already in the decision stage where you're not necessarily thinking about like, is this something I will need? For you, it's clear that you're going to take advantage of an investment of this. It's more about like, who is the right business partner for you? This is in the decision stage. In the end, all what we want is we want to drive action for our customers to really make a buying decisions, ideally for us as such. Okay, and this is also when you have an action, don't forget, just because somebody made a buying decision with you once, you move them all the way up to the funnel again, because this is when the typical up and cross-selling opportunities start again. So it's all about filling the funnel again and again with the right people. And then catch those people at the right timing as well. Okay, so this is the next tip that I want to give you when we talk about timing as well. So a lot of people, as we said, we are chasing ghosts. Sometimes it might be the right people, but they are not ready, as we've seen in this funnel here. You might be trying to convince people to buy from you if they are still in the awareness stage. So they would need a little bit more nurturing as such, and they might not really deserve your time and energy as such at this stage of the sales funnel. So one of the things I see a lot, and I've seen across the board in the corporate sales positions, is that we think when we are trying to sell to somebody, we are here and the customer is there. So we often think the customer is the king and we have to do anything to make them happy and hope eventually that somebody's going to buy. So a typical example would be somebody comes across your website, sends you a little message and says, oh, can I have a quote for this and this and this? You sit down and you spend 2 or 3 hours without knowing anything about that person. And you send it out and then fingers crossed, I hope somebody will call me and actually buy from us now. Sounds familiar? So this is what I mean with your time is as precious as your prospects or your customers, because in the end, we want to make sure that where we spend our time is also well spent. So it's not just our customers coming to us asking themselves, what's in it for me? But you should be asking yourself in terms of prioritization, what deals and opportunities you focus on, what is actually in it for me? Who will more likely gonna buy from me as such? And this is probably one of my most favorite pictures from a sales training called Sandler. So Sandler has probably been one of the most influential sales methodologies out there throughout my whole career, even as an entrepreneur. And in the end, what Sandler actually says is, like, the most common mistake of salespeople out there is that we are trying to fetch our future customers' ball. So what I just explained, somebody comes and says, oh, can I have this from you? Requesting some information. And then we tend to go off, fetch the ball, and we come back and we just hope we're going to get a treat in return. So don't be that dog that is tirelessly, you can see he's already tired, was tirelessly fetching some balls and he might never get anything in return. Stop for a second, think about what we said earlier. Is it the right people and is it the right timing? And is that potential customer and prospect really worth our time as such? And what can we ask in return if we give something away? Okay, so a very, very powerful one. Think of it as a mutual respect and mutual agreement. And this is also when we go down the road and qualify in and qualify people out based on the sales funnel that we have in place and based on the questions we can ask along the sales process. In the end, ideally, we meet with those that can genuinely benefit from our services and our products, who can then say, yes, makes sense, here's my investment for you. Okay, how are we doing in terms of time? Good. So the last point is a very general one as such. So along this process that we've seen here is you're gonna get some feedback. So if you're selling online and you don't have a lot of actual customer interactions, you might be running Facebook ads, whatever it is, you have systems in place where you can actually look at your data, like how well a campaign is running, your website data, whatever it might be. You can get some feedback on your customers' behavior and on the reasons of why they buy or might not buy. So let's talk about the positive feedback first. So if you have clients that have bought from you or are continuously buying from you, get this positive feedback. So there's no harm in asking them, like, okay, so why is it actually that you chose to work for me? Why do you keep working with me? Why do you keep buying our products? Because all these positive feedbacks can be easily turned into customer testimonials. Because the easiest way to sell something is if your customers are actually selling for you. But I get it. Feedback, you might have seen the word and you were automatically thinking about the negative feedback. And this is another really important point, because not all feedback out there is actually bad, because in the end, it can really help us to develop a growth mindset. So it's, if you get feedback and you get to know, you're convinced it is an ideal client, somebody you can genuinely help, and it was the right timing because that person was maybe evaluating different options for them, do try to still get feedback on what it actually was. What can you actually do differently next time? Is it maybe the sales process, the way you sold it, the way you positioned it? Or now with COVID-19, I think this is a very current topic actually, is it maybe the services or the market needs that are changing? So do you maybe have to adopt the way you are offering your services, your how, or maybe is it even the what that you are doing that changed due to the circumstances we live in? So in the end, as you can see, the growth mindset is actually the one that sets the successful people from the not so successful people apart. So it's a no is not the limit of your abilities. A no is not, does not say that you are not successful as such. It's just a constructive feedback and you're like, okay, I put more effort in, I have the right attitude. That is not determining me as a person. So I think that's a very last good point that I want to give you away, because a lot of people in sales, especially if you're an entrepreneur and you sell something that is very close to your heart, never take a no personal. It's more just, it's, see it as a gift. Somebody's telling you what is working for them and what isn't, and then you can adjust and you keep on trialing and erroring. Good, I'm aware that this was a lot of information. So just to recap on what we touched on. So the 5 tips that I shared with you today is probably the most important one here. A no is okay. A no from your customer, but also a no from your side, that you disqualify people from your ideal sales funnel. The next thing is what we do and how we do is important, but the most important part is that you start with the why. Think about what gets you out of bed in the morning and why would anybody care? We're talking about the benefits here, because in the end, this will help us to justify our pricing and will facilitate our pricing discussion. So price is perceived value. Or as I said, investment equals the return on investment. And in the end, when we talk about time, never forget it should be a mutual respect. So your time is as precious as your prospects or your customers' time. And along that way, when you figure out, is that the right person that can genuinely benefit from my services or products that I offer, or from my skills, feedback is a gift. So adjust accordingly and don't give up, because in the end, sales is, there's no silver bullet, it's trial and error. But like, if I can do it, surely you can do it too. Good. Before we wrap up and we go into our Q&A session, I'd love to ask you and think about what you've heard now. What is the most valuable thing for you today? So what is the one thing you're gonna take away from today? You might be start doing something, you might be like stop doing something, or there was just one like piece of information or insight where you said, oh, that is gonna be a little game changer for me. If I can just apply this one, that will help me going forward. Think about it and feel free to share so in the chat as well. So think about what it is really that you're taking away from whatever you've been hearing in the last 30 minutes. And let's see if anybody is happy to share. And while we wait for a couple of answers, there we have the first one. Okay. Not being the dog, I like this. So you don't want to be the dog, not running after every sign of life from a prospect. Yeah, think about the maybes or chasing the ghosts. You don't want to be that dog. Absolutely, I really like it. Is there anybody else who wants to share? Ilona is saying she will never look at her dogs again chasing a ball the same way. I think I can already feel that that picture is a very powerful one, and it really had a really powerful impact on me and the way I actually look at sales as well. So it seems like this is something that definitely resonated with you. Rona is saying he sees selling as an exercise in creative verbal exchange to gain mutual agreement. Oh, I love this definition. Really good. So really good. Think about it. If you have any questions, we're going to go into this now. For my part, if you found all of this helpful and you find like, oh, I actually want to exchange my learnings, my trial and errors, my techniques with other people, and you want more tips and best practices, feel free to request access to our sales mindset community where you can do so. And if you feel you're actually ready to actively boost your sales revenue further, I'm offering free 20-minute conversation calls where we can figure out if we can help you, how we can help you, or if there's maybe somebody or something else who can actually help you to boost your revenue further. And this is my digital business card. Feel free to take a screenshot of that one. We're gonna share the slides, so don't be afraid if you didn't take all the notes. I'm gonna share the slides with you. There's actually a link I just put into the chat here. So you can gain access to your slides. You can download them here. You can request access to the Sales Mindset group, and you can also request your free consultation call if you're interested.